Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Healing Vibrations. This is the broadcast where we aim to change perspective of illness, to see it as a gift, to see if we can really see it as a gift and to unwrap that gift to find out what's inside. And today I'm really excited to be joined by the amazing and beautiful Traci Hill, who is living symptom-free after a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So she is definitely a few steps further ahead than me in her journey of healing, which is exciting. She is an subtle energy alchemist. I get that right. So Traci, thank you so much for joining me. And tell us a little bit about what a subtle energy alchemist is and how you work.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here. I like to say, instead of like ripping the Band-Aid off, we're kind of just peeling back the layers slowly so that your body has time to adjust. And so I have different modalities I use to release trapped emotions that end up manifesting themselves as physical conditions.
So your sort of journey of healing very much came from trapped emotions, didn't it? Because I know I've done some one of your courses on emotions and how they all link into the body. So you know a lot about emotions.
I do. I do, yes. And it wasn't, I had to come full circle, and I was a personal trainer. I have a master's degree in kinesiology. I'm a holistic nutrition coach. And so my background started in just the physical. And when I realized there has to be so much more, there has to be other layers. And I look at, the Eastern philosophy of those emotions that you have come out as physical, and then the body speaks to you in a language of disease. Well, I had to go deep dive into what's going on here. And so I realized that we have trapped emotions that when never addressed, they eventually come out in a disease. So I say 95 to 98% of diseases are emotional, and not meaning they're in your head, but meaning that you've kept them so near and dear to yourself, like carrying around baggage that you don't need anymore, that they became a part of your appendage or a part of something that weighs you down, and oftentimes in the form of a disease.
And you don't even know, do you? You don't. It's not like you're aware of. You've used the analogy of carrying a bag around of these emotions. It's not like you're aware that, oh, actually, there's the bag. It almost becomes part of you, doesn't it?
Exactly. It becomes something that you're just so familiar with. A lot of people have a hard time letting go. I think the theme this week is becoming the victim. Right? Like I have heart disease, I have MS, I have Lyme's disease. And when you say that, it's because you carry that with you like the baggage, and it becomes part of your reality. Instead of saying, well, why am I diagnosed with this? Where did this come from? And start to dissect it, open up the luggage. What's inside? Like, what do we have in here? Like old pair of underwear? I don't really need that anymore.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because of course when we're diagnosed, that's not a route our doctors would say to us, is it? It's like you have this label, if you like, which let's explore where that's coming from, what that might mean to you. That's certainly not a conversation I've had with any of my doctors anyway.
Correct. And funny, because I had 3 doctors trying to, pinpoint, is it really MS? What's going on here? And I'm in the doctor's office it was my boyfriend at the time. And he's like, well, you can get pregnant or go on medication. And then he walks out of the room, and I'm like looking at this guy like, excuse me? Like, this is no bedside manner, no other, let's find the root cause. And so I've kind of poo-pooed Western medicine. I mean, it's great for emergency use, but after that, Mother Nature has all the answers. So uncovering these layers and saying, you know what, let's strip this apart and let's take what we need, which is probably nothing, and then let's lighten the load. Let's feel so much better because we've let go of what isn't necessary anymore. And your body can start to it can start to sprint, right? It's like, oh, I'm free. And so it just wants to take off. And so that's kind of, stripping away these emotions that create our habits and our patterns and our thoughts and our judgments on ourselves, and, the harsh criticisms and all the things that really keep us in a downward spiral, or at least stuck on the hamster wheel of doing and feeling and being the same thing over and over that we really don't want to be.
So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your story. So you talked about when you got that diagnosis, but prior to the diagnosis, what was the lead up to that? And then was it straight away that you just sort of, was it that diabolical doctor that just, what are those really my two choices? Was that it, or was there a bit of a journey to get you to that point?
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, so was type A, very much like do, very masculine. So I talk a lot about masculine, feminine energies. We all have both, but the generation I was brought up in was very much be independent, do your thing, do. And I didn't do a lot of be, which is the feminine aspect. So I joined the military and I got a master's degree. I got a master's degree while working full time and while training for a marathon, while exercising 8 hours a day, not a joke, while training for a 24-hour.
So a super high achiever, I'm hearing.
Yeah, so you could talk about adrenal fatigue and burnout. And I ended up fracturing my spine in my 20s.
Wow.
I was a dancer, and that kind of ended that. And, the carrying around a rucksack in the military, that didn't help my back a lot. And then I was running marathons because I was running away from something. Never would have even thought that. It would never have come into my thinking process, but I was running from something. And then got married, and I was diagnosed shortly before marriage. And then my world kind of fell apart, but I was put on Copaxone. It's the once daily shot. And that was the most miserable thing I've ever done. I mean,
oh my God.
Oh, it was terrible. It was like having the flu every day. It was either, I don't know if my body was rejecting it. I don't know what was going on, but I can tell you that by the third month, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I literally did a year of just online constantly trying to understand the answer, or what is MS? Where does it come from? And what struck me, two things, was that one, there is no diagnostic tool. There is no one straight answer. It's like a culmination of many different
things
tools
together.
Yeah. And doctors are like, well, it looks that way, we're going to diagnose it that way. So to me, like, that doesn't sound right. But then number two, and this was so enlightening for me, I was on the mssociety.org website with the blog or whatever. And this is, again, going many years ago. I was diagnosed in 2000. So this is probably 2001. And I had put something on the post about doing yoga because I actually feel a ton better when I do yoga. And a nurse came back. She was a nurse and said, I cannot say that because there's no supporting evidence to prove that yoga helps. And she has to remove my post. I'm like, whoa, I just stumbled upon something. I didn't quite know what it was yet. I'm like, how can she say that? Like, yoga's been around for thousands of years.
And all you were saying was that you felt better for doing it. You weren't saying it helps people with MS.
Right. Or like, come over, I'll teach you yoga if you have MS. I was just saying it helps me. And so I got off of that site. I said, no more MS Society. I don't believe in them. The fact that they just keep taking in money, no offense to anyone who's involved in it, but I don't believe in it. And got off of that and realized that there's something missing. So I took a deeper dive. I went down the rabbit hole. So went way down the rabbit hole and just found that environment, the toxins, the weed killer, the pesticides in our food, the water, the
so
fluoride.
many toxins, aren't there? Oh my God. When you start thinking about what you put into your body, what you put onto your body, where you live, and that's not before you get into relationships and workplaces and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, which will create a whole nother toxic environment. So when I was in the military, I got shipped overseas and got 9 shots in a row. And I was fortunate enough to know somebody who was he was military crazy. Okay. He was off, I'll say off his rocker, but in a good way. He took me to a library and showed me all the military law books and showed me underneath each shot what they caused. And I'm telling you, the print was probably a 6 font, and it was pages and pages and pages of just one shot. And MS was
when you say shot, you mean injections?
Injections,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Or to go overseas for the military. Yeah. And MS was listed in there, and I'm like, huh, well, that's interesting. Then I read the book Vaccine A, and if you want to get really freaked out, read the book. If you don't read that book, because it will change your, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Another eye opener. And so I started piecing all these things together and saying, okay, well, the Eastern medicine, they use the earth. And, like Tylenol is mimicked after a plant. All the medicines are mimicked after a plant. So why can't plants heal you? And so if that's the case, then nature should be able to heal me. So again, this is like a long time.
Yeah, lots of reading, lots of rabbit holes by the sounds of it.
Yes. And then I learned about the fascia many years ago, but it wasn't really like, I read about it and I was like, this is super interesting, but the Western world didn't even acknowledge fascia as a thing for the longest time. So if you're new to fascia, it's an organ, but the Western world's just catching up with it. Eastern world's like all about the fascia. And I believe the fascia holds everything. And that's where a lot of your emotions kind of get webbed into.
So fascia, for people that have not heard of it before then, because I've got my idea of what it is. Because would you like to explain what you think? How you describe it?
So if you consider, I did a Facebook Live about this. Trees have all their roots, and trees actually communicate. So there's a great documentary on Netflix about trees communicating. All their roots touch each other. And what happens is signals are sent to a tree's root, and they send it to the next tree and the next tree and the next tree. So all those roots, they get really tiny, right? So the fascia is connecting every single part of your body to every other part of your body. It's like a giant spider web of connective tissue, and it sends and receives signals. So it's not your nerves, it's actual like a fibrous white fascia.
It's the way I was, when you're chopping chicken, sometimes you can see it on the chicken, can't you? That little tiny bit of yucky stuff. It feels like that's and it covers. Am I right in thinking it literally covers all of our muscles, all of our organs, all of our everything inside of us is connected with this, and it really is like you said, a minute fine membrane, isn't it?
Exactly, interconnections. It is super intelligent because it holds all the information, and that is the reason Eastern medicine is so much more advanced. Is they don't think that you can separate organs. You can't just take out a gallbladder and say you're fixed, because guess what? That fascia that was there is holding the memory of the gallbladder, so you can still have the problems. And you can't, just work on the heart. You have to work on the emotions of the heart, plus the fascia that's connected to the heart moves through the rest of the body. So if there's an emotional connection, which is most heart disease, is an emotional connection, it travels to the rest of your body and affects all the other organs. And so they all need to be nurtured, and not just the one. You might need to focus on the one for a little bit, but not in a Western medicine sense where you just give it a medication and go on your way.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion. But
Yeah. Yeah,
a lot of people
no,
take
I'm
medicine.
with you. Yeah, it's there's so much more to it, isn't there?
Absolutely. So when I read about this fascia, and again, it was kind of just like, I understood it and I was like, okay, cool. But because Western world wasn't up to it, there was really no information here on it. So I kind of just let that go for a while. And when I discovered body code and realized I got rid of my severe cat allergy, my severe egg allergy, I healed myself of so many things by doing the emotion code, which if your listeners aren't familiar with, you can look up the book by Brad Nelson. I think it's just
Brad
called
Nelson.
Emotion Code, Body Code, Emotion Code. I've been doing it for so long that I was doing it, and then I ran across this book, and I'm like, this is exactly what I'm doing. Cool. It's the ability to tap into your subconscious and get a positive answer or a not positive answer, and find out anything you could ever want to know about yourself through your subconscious. And so through using that, I healed myself of allergies, and I'm like, well, if I can do that, then what can I not do, right? So I took that and I expanded it into healing my emotional state and my physical state, and it kind of just led me into the path I'm in now.
Wow. So yeah, that's it. And you are living totally symptom free now. So do you have to do you follow any diets or anything like that? What's your sort of daily life look like these days?
And that's funny because I do have, I call it high maintenance routines in the morning and at night, but they're all very natural and they ebb and flow intuitively. So I intuitively eat. Some days I'm vegan, some days I'm eating meat twice. It's like whatever. If I want to eat fruit for 2 meals, I eat fruit. You know, I don't follow any one thing. And so my routine, I do a lot of like plant medicine type of things. So I do what's called hape, which is an indigenous root plant that's mixed with tobacco and ground down really fine, that you blow up your nose. And yeah, everyone's always like, what? But it's very spiritual, and it's also very cleansing, and it's really healthy for your body. I do pink water, and I do liquid magnesium. I do diatomaceous earth. I do warm lemon water in the morning. I do like yogic exercises. I do qigong when it feels right. I use everything I use is natural. I make my own deodorants. You know, my hair, my dish soap, everything is natural, or I make it. So, but again, this is not all happened overnight. This is realizing that toxins are just such a big deal. So, but I ebb and flow on things depending on what I feel my body needs. So it's not like there's some things that I stick with more long-term, and then other things I can like do and then not do. Like I have a Theragun, I'll do that sometimes, and then other times I won't. I have a
what's a Theragun?
The Theragun, it's like that vibrating gun that you could put on your muscles to loosen them up. There's a bunch of different versions of them. I have a biomat that's got crystals in it, and it heats up and it sends red light therapy. I have sound healing instruments. I have cacao that I do. I have kava that I do. So all these things, people are probably like, oh
my goodness, yeah.
And yeah, it's overwhelming if you're just jumping into things. So I always say to people, do the free things first. Always do the free things first and see how they feel for you. Like sun gazing, barefoot in the grass, just getting into nature, sitting silently. You don't have to meditate if that's too difficult. Just sit silently. No TV. I always say no TV. Don't watch TV, especially the news.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen, high vibe music. You know, don't gossip, and then your world will just start to get more peaceful. And all of those things are totally free and accessible. It's not like you have to do a whole lot.
So when you talk about sun gazing, I've been here we are in the summer here in the UK. So a couple of people have said that. What actually is sun gazing?
Sun gazing is awesome. So I don't wear sunglasses ever, because it's a a good way to close off your pineal gland. Okay, so the pineal gland's in the very center of your brain, and it's like a tiny shaped pine cone. And it's really important for receiving energy from the information around you. So you could say spirit, you could say earth energy, you could say source, God, whatever you want to call it, but that's your connection. So when that gets calcified, you've cut off your connection. So the pineal gland, when it's not calcified, when it's functioning properly, it kind of vibrates a little bit, which is one of the reasons why chanting Om or any of the chants is really important, because it decalcifies that pineal gland.
Okay.
So what happens with sun gazing is in the very beginning morning hours, when the sun just comes up over the horizon, you have about 1 hour, depending where you're at, where you can look directly into the sun and it won't hurt your eyes.
Right.
And what it does is it starts a chemical reaction in your eyes. So you see the light, it starts the serotonin, or serotonin, starts the serotonin production, and that pineal gland actually emits a liquid, and it starts all the hormone production all the way down to the bottom of your tailbone. And that's really important for all of your hormones to stay healthy, is to begin the process in the pineal gland. But if you're wearing sunglasses a lot, or you're inside a lot and never get sunlight in your eyes, it's like at night, if you're staring, at your phone screen and you're getting the wrong light at the wrong time. So you want natural sunlight during the day, so that when you go to sleep at night, the melatonin kicks in, and now you started your natural circadian rhythm. You go to sleep when it's dark and you wake when it's light, and you have more energy. Your body starts to heal. The stress, your fight or flight gets back in check. You decrease your stress hormones, and your whole body can start to balance itself out, all just from like 10 minutes of sun gazing. So
wow. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I do a lot of work on exactly that, calming your stress responses, because our bodies are built to heal themselves, aren't they? We cut our finger, we don't have to do anything for them to heal. Over the course of a few days, it'll heal. So it just made sense to me that actually our bodies are built to do that as well. But when we're in a state of fight or flight, when we're in stress, that body isn't ready to heal, because it's ready to fight some threat, isn't it? It's ready to work outside of us and to deal with whatever threat is coming on. But when the threat doesn't come on, there's no tiger attacking us, we don't have to run for our lives, and we don't have to fight anything. It's just there all the time in our psyche, really, isn't it? Of what we're thinking about, our environment that we're in, and the perpetual way that life has sort of evolved a little bit.
Yeah.
So it sounds like sun gazing, especially if you can get out early in the summer, which is quite early in the summer. So it's just as the sun's rising, is it? What about, is it setting? Is that the same? Or
yes, you can actually do it setting. It's just not as common, obviously. I mean, it's beautiful to watch a sunset, so go for it.
mm-hmm.
But it's just, for some reason, not as common. But to start your day with looking at the sun. And again, you'll be able to stare at the sun for a while, and then suddenly you just can't anymore, because it's too hard on your eyes. So yes, you can do it setting, but preferably rising, because it's a great start.
And you talked as well about you sort of getting in touch with your own intuition, and eating what's right for you, and following this strange array of activities that sounds strange to anybody that hasn't been following your path. So how did that, and this is something that I am learning to do at the moment, this idea of we do have the answers, all of us do, nobody's path is the same. If we've got to find our own way, and that's our work, really. So that's what I'm working at. So do you have any advice to me, or anybody else that's like me, that's thinking, yeah, we do have the answers, I just don't know how to ask for them, or I don't know how to listen to them? What would you suggest?
Okay, so do you ever have a day where you're following a certain, which diet are you following?
Well, I've sort of gone off the diet. I'm pretty clean, so I am probably vegan with fish, I suppose, is my most of the time.
So do you ever just feel like you are needing something, not necessarily like a donut, but something like you're craving something? Maybe it's a nut, or maybe it's a sweet potato or whatever.
Well, I have the last, not so much now, it's sort of, I've come up the other side, but because I've been pretty much sugar free for a long while, but every now and again it's like, oh yeah, I don't know, I fancy a brownie.
So that's your body saying that you're missing something, not necessarily sugar. It usually isn't. But you know, that intuitive feeling, because there's a lot of people who, I used to bodybuild, okay, and I would eat the same thing every day, and that was just part of the regimen. But I know people who do that for years in a row, and it's honestly not healthy, because you're missing, you need that variety. Typically, not everybody, but most people need a variety to make up for what they didn't get. You know, if you look back a couple hundred years, we'd eat local because we didn't have grocery stores, and we eat off the land. So if it became wintertime, you're eating the root vegetables that were the late crop for the year. So you're eating heartier, more dense things, right? And then in the summertime, you're eating fresher things, plucking the fruit off the trees. So intuitive eating doesn't necessarily just mean what source is telling you to eat at the moment. It's intuitively eating for your body at the space it's in. As you age, you know, what you ate in your 20s can't be the same thing you're eating now, because it's not.
We're different, yeah.
So I could eat a whole pizza and nothing would happen. Now I smell a pizza and I'm like, but so it's about listening to your body and the changes it's rolling through. I don't want to say going through, because that sounds like a negative thing, but the changes that you're rolling through, the ebb and flow, the yin and yang of your seasons, meaning where are you at and what stage of your life are you at? Are you going through menopause? Are you going through pregnancy? Because if you're pregnant, you're going to need very different nutrients than if you're going through menopause. If you're a 25-year-old male, you're going to need very different set of nutrients than a 70-year-old male. And so it's allowing your body to adjust to the environment and season that you're in. You know, where do you live? What stress are you under? How active are you? How much sun are you getting? Because if you're not getting any sun, you're not getting vitamin D, right? Yeah. So you're going to have to supplement that. And sometimes you can't help it. So it's allowing your body to take in what it needs at that time. And maybe it's for one day only, maybe it's for a week, maybe it's for a month. And then you just allow it to shift through the changes without judgment and with compassion.
Okay. So then I suppose my question then is, how do I know that's like my body saying, yeah, I need something sweet maybe, or something, or just my emotion apart? Because there's a lot of emotion, isn't there, taken to eating? And yes. So is there a little bit of a process that maybe people could go through if they have that drop in energy, and they again, it's a habitual thing? Because I know, not anymore, but you know, at one point I'd always have a chocolate bar in the afternoon just because that was my thing, and it became a thing, and it felt like, yeah, why wouldn't you? It goes well with a cup of tea. Hello, cat.
And why wouldn't my cat show up? She shows up every time I'm on Zoom. Yeah, so that's a great question. So I was that person too. At 2 o'clock, between 2 and 3:30, I had to have something sweet. And then I would, not even so much sweet, but like, I'm trying to think like what I would eat. Sweet and like heavier. So not like like a fruit candy, but like something more dense. And it was constant. And I finally was like, I would ignore it. Like, no, I won't do it again tomorrow. I won't do it again tomorrow.
So willpower burns through.
Yeah, willpower does not last long. And I had to really understand, okay, what is it that's triggering this? Because I noticed, and it wasn't often, so I had to be very aware, and this is for your listeners and you if necessary. When you feel that trigger, even not just even the regular times, but other times, like I'd be at my parents' house and we'd be sitting around and I'd want something like that sweet, dense thing again, something I can really chew into, like a brownie, right?
Yeah.
Chewy, chocolatey brownie, right? Still a sucker for brownies, but like I can pass them up now. Or I would be working on my computer and I had something I really needed to get done that was a difficult task for me. Because I'm very like ADD mind, right? I don't move in a linear fashion. So if something was really difficult and I needed to focus on it, I'd want that again. So I had to say, okay, well, what's the common denominator here? And it was overwhelm and boredom. So if I got
and they're almost two ends of the same stick, aren't they?
Yes, yes. It was like overstimulation that spun my mind into like, I can't do this right now. And now I'm bored. So like, now what do I do? Like, I need to get this done, but I don't want to. So
I'll go get something to eat.
So I'll eat. So what I had to do was acknowledge it and then go like understand where that came from. And this is kind of getting into shadow work. Understanding when it first started, where did this first start? And I could pinpoint that when I would come home from school and doing homework, my mom would set a tray of brownies on the table.
And nice, mommy.
Yeah, or a cookie or something along that lines.
Yeah.
Or like Nilla wafers, something to eat while I was doing homework. Well, I don't really remember homework being difficult, but we had a lot of homework. And so I would eat something sweet while doing the homework. So homework's boring, but it's also overwhelming sometimes. Oh, I got it now. So I had to acknowledge it and really just let myself absorb into that memory and the feeling of being overwhelmed, and then find something else to do in its place. And then, be okay with, why am I bored? What makes it boring? And it's okay that type A in me was like, it's okay to do nothing. Took me a long time to figure that one out. It's okay to just sit there and stare at the ceiling and go for a walk if you need to, or go do laundry. I would find kind of mundane things to do, like laundry or vacuum or dishes or something. And like, okay, I can do that for a little bit. And then eventually. But
I find doing something like that is quite good, because actually it might be mundane, but it doesn't necessarily take very long. And it's productive. So you've done the dishes are done, aren't they? The kitchen's clear. So it feels like you've done something, even if it's not the thing that you're putting off, the procrastinating thing.
Exactly. It's a great point. So I still accomplished something.
Yeah.
Not the main goal, but I got something done instead of just like sitting in front of the TV. One of my things, because I went through a really bad divorce. So before my divorce, things were bad. And my overwhelm became pecans dipped in Nutella. And I ate a lot of it, and I gained probably a lot of weight from that. And I realized, because I was so stressed out and overwhelmed in my marriage, that I was doing that as a compensatory mechanism. I'm like, one day I was just like snapped out of it, because I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Just like spooning the Nutella pecans. I was like, and like, even now, like I kind of get heartburn thinking about like, oh my God, so heavy.
OD on them.
So just acknowledging that trigger, like what is triggering this habit, because your subconscious kind of just created this mechanism to get you to escape. For you, it could be TV, it could be smoking. Smoking's an escape mechanism.
Yeah, or drinking. TV, shopping, I guess, all of those things that in the short term give us some sort of little hit, but in the long term are not good.
No. Yeah.
So you talked earlier about shadow work. So is this something that you and it sounds quite deep and dark. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I don't specifically advertise myself as doing shadow work. Sometimes it has to be done, and sometimes I have clients who want to do it. This is not something that, so I had to do it. I had to do it. I chose to do it on my own, but I didn't know what I was really doing. It took me 10 years to figure out the shadow work process, and it got ugly because I didn't have somebody. This is before shadow work was even like a thing. It didn't even have it. Well, I didn't know I had a name. But digging into your past and uprooting all the gunk, all the weeds that you just let overgrow. And it's not for the faint of heart. You have to really be ready, because just like any person, most people fear change and they don't want to admit that. Like, no, I really want to change. I want to live this XYZ existence. But because I was self-sabotaging, I had a fear of success and failure. And a lot of people have that, surprisingly.
It's the same stick, yeah.
Yes. And what happens is if you have a fear of both, you end up self-sabotaging. And in order to get over that self-sabotage, there's things that happened in your childhood, most likely childhood, that continue to surface to keep you from succeeding and failing. So it's this paradoxical thing. You need to work around. You need to encapsulate the issue and pluck it out. And it's ugly. It's not happy work. It's not exciting work. But on the other side of it is bliss, because you finally stepped into your true self. And that's kind of really where I take people. But it's a process, and it's a lifelong process. It's not something like when I do coaching, it's 8 weeks. It's to get you going, right?
Where you want to be going.
Yeah, I'm always working on myself. I'm always learning, growing, expanding, just like you are. I mean, and when you're ready to really grow and expand and really, really change, the tools will fall in front of you. So if you're meant to coach with somebody, that's what you do. If you're meant to go on a retreat, if you're meant to study under somebody, whatever it is, it'll present itself. But you have to really, really be ready, because I always tell my clients, like, listen, if you're married, you may not stay married after this. You may realize that you're really not happy in your marriage. If you're at a job that makes a lot of money, and you might find out you hate this job and it's totally unfulfilling. And once you know something, you can't unlearn it. And so you're kind of stuck with making a choice then. Either be miserable and stay the same and know that, or change, create complete chaos in your life until things can settle back down and you found your space on this planet. So it's not for the faint of heart.
but it's interesting you should say that, because I talk about my first sort of step into this world, really, in amongst, I call it my vortex of shit, because that's what it felt like. It was like, yeah, anything else you want to throw into the mix, my relationship, my job, my health, my people dying. It was like all, but in amongst it all, even though all that stuff was going on, I'd started learning about the law of attraction. I'd started learning about mind-body connection. I was starting taking full responsibility for myself. And even though lots of stuff, there's lots of emotions going on, there's lots of life changes, and like you said, that's we don't like changes, there was that inner part of me that was just like, this is going to be okay, because this is part of what needs to happen, because I was deeply miserable in many aspects of my life before. And if you're not happy, like you say, you've got a choice. You can carry on not being happy, but that leads to illness. I think that's definitely, I'm sure, part of what my MS was telling me. It's like, you were definitely on the wrong path. You were just on you weren't even on your path, you were on somebody else's path. And so this has been for me about redefining me, I think. And that's yeah, and that's the work, that's the spiritual side of it. I think spirituality is definitely, it's all part of learning about what makes me tick and what makes me light up and what I actually want, you know.
And did you find that when you started on your path, like you got in so far that it was, now it's too late, now I just have to get through it, go right through that tornado and let it get out the other side?
And it still feels like that, to be honest. It still feels like that. I'm very much, you know, I would not call myself a, no, that's not true. I was going to say I would not call myself a success, but I'm not there yet. I'm still very much on the journey to healing, on the journey to building your business, on that journey. But is there an option to step off and do something else? Possibly, but not one that every time I've looked at it, things have got a bit hard, and I think, what's my other option? It's not really an option.
Right.
So I think you're on there. It feels like I'm going the right way. So
Yeah. At some point, it's like you take one more step, and that's it. You're committed now. You have to just continue on with the healing journey, and wherever it takes you, you just have to trust. You have to trust it and allow. You know, I was just telling a client today, like it's the healing part of it. Like you can't bypass it because you won't learn. You have to really sit in the suck. Sit in the suck, let it overwhelm you for a minute, but then pull your pants back up and go right back to it, because
and carry on. Yeah.
You know, if you wallow in it too long, it'll consume you. And if you try to jump over it, you're never going to see what you.
No, you're missing the value of it, aren't you?
Yeah. And so for most people who are on a healing journey are meant to be healers or coaches themselves. So in order to heal other people, you have to really see your path and how you got there and what worked and what didn't work, because you're going to coach the same people, same type of people that you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just how it works.
And actually, by working with a coach, so working with somebody like you, then it just makes that part a lot easier, doesn't it? It just makes it a little bit quicker. You've got somebody there to support you and know that actually this is just part of it. Knowing that actually there's going to be a little bit of more discomfort, and that's what it is, really, isn't it? It's discomfort.
Yeah, no one wants to be uncomfortable.
No,
I mean,
a bit icky.
I don't like being cold ever. I hate being cold. Give me summer all year long, you know. I don't want to be uncomfortable, but sometimes you learn from that, you grow, and that's what this process is all about. And you know, for your listeners who are, this is another theme this week, who are embarking or thinking about embarking on a healing journey, I will say this. I heard there was kind of a lot of overwhelm happening these last couple of weeks. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed by the influx of information, Gina said it in the very beginning, we all have the answers within us. And that could not be any more true. I mean, sing that from the mountaintops. Don't listen to me. Do your own internal compass work. See what resonates with you. Take some information, and when you feel like your cup is full from 5 people, stop. Don't keep going and finding more information, because you will just get more overwhelmed, and then you're going to start questioning. Go inside, and that's where meditation or just sitting quietly in nature really helps, so that you can find your own answer. Because, and Gina, you said it before, is like, you know, there's no one path for everybody. Everybody's individual. And I'll say it again, wherever you're at in your season, in your ebb and flow, in your yin or yang, you have to dial in so that you can heal yourself. And then if you need assistance, you go and seek out that assistance for support and more focus and other ways of nurturing your path. But, you know, do your best to not jump on every single bandwagon. Like I told you all this stuff that I'm doing, it works for me.
Yeah.
Don't go and like do everything I'm doing. If it's, you know, if you just, I mean, if you want to try it, just to try it, okay. But you know, so, a lot of this stuff costs money, and if you don't like it, then you're kind of stuck with it for a little bit. So try the free stuff. Always try the free stuff first if it feels right for you. As far as nutrition goes, do what feels right. Just eat healthy. There's no one way that's going to work for you forever. As far as exercise goes, move. Do whatever you got to do. Do yoga, go for a walk, stretch, you know, go weightlift, whatever it is, go just something. And it's that simple. And be a good human, and you'll be healthy. Really that
Yeah,
easy.
and I think that the curiosity piece as well, if you read something or see something that sparks your interest, you just think, oh, that sounds interesting, be a bit curious and dig a bit deeper, because like Tracy said, there isn't one route for everybody. We've got to find our own, but that takes a bit of experimenting sometimes and finding things. And even if things don't work as you would like them, so for example, when I did my lots of diet experiment and it didn't quite give me symptom freeness straight away as it has for some people, but it's taught me so much about what's good for my body and what I like, and different ways of eating. So no little inroad journey down is a waste of time, even if it doesn't give you what you were hoping it was, you know, was going to give you when you embarked on that part of the journey. So even if it's a little detour, you know, it's always a detour that teaches you something, that allows you to meet somebody else, hear something else, feel something out, experience something. And
yeah, and you keep it in your back pocket for later, because maybe you're just not ready for it at this time, but maybe in a year from now, you're gonna be like, you know what, I'm gonna pick that back up again. It's kind of like a book, like, this book looks good, but I'm not ready to read it yet. And then another year, you're like, I'm ready for that book. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, sometimes you can read some of it one time and think, doesn't make any sense, and you pick it up, like you say, a year later or 6 months down the line, you're like, wow, this is talking to me. So it's I think it's being open. I think Wayne Dwyer said it sometime, didn't he? Having a mind that's open to anything and attached to nothing. And it's that sort of concept of, okay, I don't know what's going to work, but I know this stuff works for, you know, it's worked for some people, so therefore it's possible. So be open to experiment and have fun with it. I think sometimes it can feel very serious to go out and heal ourselves. We're on this journey of self-healing, and it sounds like very serious. Well, what happens if this is just making it the most fun journey? And I must say, and I just feel a bit emotional just talking about it, that actually where it's led me and the conversations that I'm having and the people that I'm meeting and the things that I'm trying is a right roller coaster ride of funness. Because why do we go on a roller coaster? Because we want to have fun and to be a bit scared and to stretch our comfort zone. So all of those things. Yeah.
Great analogy. Love it. Yes.
So
yeah, you know, that could be my issue, is I take things too seriously sometimes because I'm so focused on things, and it's always my, you know, spiritual message is like, nope, just have fun. You know, life is a game anyways. It's just a matrix, and you're just a pawn in the game. So you might as well have fun.
You might as well enjoy playing it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think because we've both been talking in the Symptom-Free MS Summit, which is going on at the moment. So if anybody hasn't tapped into it yet, then let us know. We can share a link. But Matt Embry was saying on that, I watched his one, and he talks about it being a bit of a battlefield. He goes out to battle, which I don't really like talking about it in quite that way. But I like the way he turned the battle into a game, almost like the same thing. It's like, it's not necessarily a battle, but it's a game that you're playing. And we're all, you know, if you've played computer games, you'll have a similar thing. But even any type of games at all, is that it's a strategy piece. We're working it out, we're solving problems, and that helps us to grow as well. So treat it all like a game, and let's chill out and enjoy the ride.
Sometimes I get on my unicycle and I fall off. That's part of the game. And then I laugh at myself. You have to have the ability to laugh at yourself. That's really important. Because if you're not, you're taking it too seriously.
You're taking it. Yeah.
Find something to laugh at every day, because
Definitely. Well, interesting you say that. I'm doing a laughter challenge in my group at the moment because I've spoken to a lot. Yeah, so a laughter yoga teacher, and she was saying the benefits of laughter. So I'm going into my group. I'm on day 13, and I'm just doing some laughing, and it's not easy because sometimes you don't feel like laughing, but even just forcing yourself to laugh, even when you're not feeling funny, is it makes your muscles in your face go, and also it almost feels like the fascia in your, that's how I described it, it feels like the fascia in your torso is being massaged when you laugh. You sort of feel it.
Well, I love laughing.
Yeah, absolutely. Laughing is so important. Oh my goodness. Well, that brings us a lovely note to end on. And thank you so much for sharing your story and some of your ideas and suggestions and thoughts and wisdom, really. And it's so amazing to speak to somebody that's come out the other side of MS and is living an amazing life, and yeah, and is not having to deal with the symptoms, which is fantastic. And you said that I always like to end these broadcasts with a nice little exercise that we can do and share. So I believe you've got a nice exercise for us.
I do. So this is called Nadi Shodhana, and this is great for the afternoon. I had to pick this up to stop my sugar habit. So
okay.
Because it gives your brain a little boost of energy and vibrancy. It's alternating nostril breathing. Okay. So you're going to just take a normal breath in and a normal breath out, and you're going to anchor a finger or two up on your forehead, and we're going to be blocking the right and then the left, alternating, hence the name, alternating nostril breathing. So we're going to take a normal breath in and out, and your left hand just stays on your lap. You can anchor your fingers. So we're going to breathe in and out, and then you're going to block the left, and then inhale through the right. Now you're going to pinch both, and you're going to hold, and then let go of the left side. Breathe out the left. Inhale on the left. Pinch both. Exhale on the right. Inhale on the right. Pinch both. Exhale on the left. Inhale on the left. Pinch both. Exhale on the right. Inhale on the right. Pinch both. Exhale left. Inhale. Pinch. Exhale right. Inhale. Pinch. Exhale left. Inhale. Pinch. Exhale right. And then release. So you would ideally want to do that for 2 to 5 minutes. But what it does is it gets the right and left hemispheres communicating better. So enlivens your brain activity, helps with focus and memory, a lot more things too. So if you need that afternoon pick-me-up, at your desk, people are like, oh yeah, what you doing over there?
and I think because you're focusing on doing something, you've got to concentrate up to a point, haven't you? Otherwise you get muddled up with then it gives you that mindfulness. It stops your brain from thinking about whatever else
other things
thinking about. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you or find out more about how to work with you and what you do, what would they do?
Great question. So I have a website. It's consciousevolution.coach. And right now I am planning a retreat for March 23rd through 28th in Joshua Tree. Super excited. It's for women only. And I have limited spots, but it's going to be amazing. We have a personal chef that's going to be living in with us. We have a sound bowl therapy. We have cacao ceremony. We have hiking, all kinds of great stuff planned. On the
whereabouts
sooner
is that?
end, Joshua Tree in California. So it's an energy vortex center. So it's one of the ley lines. Yeah, very exciting. I'm also just starting, I'm going to be creating an MS group specifically, and I have this frequency scanner that I just started using that I absolutely love. A little too complicated to explain here, but everything is frequency. And so what I can do is send the group a frequency to help release symptoms of MS. And it's frequency goes everywhere. But on my website, you can find out about my coaching, sign up for my emails, which will have a lot more information as things get rolled out. I have a very cheap class on the pineal gland. I have a cheap, very cheap chakra class, and those are both self-guided, so they're already uploaded into a program. Lots of other fun stuff. So check out consciousevolution.coach.
Well, I'll be sharing the link in the information bit about it. And yeah, thank you so much. Shame I'm not a little bit near California, because that retreat sounds, maybe by March I might have loads of money and I can take a trip over there. That would be fantastic, because that sounds amazing. And yeah, well done for doing all the work that you're doing and sharing your magic, because it really is. And you've got a big Facebook group, haven't you? The Healing MS Naturally. So where Traci shows up every now and again, and they've got a real positive community going on in there as well.
Yeah, and thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
So awesome.
thank you. All righty, we'll end it now.